flashes here as they're going by here. That was an interesting debate, and Ned Riley is right. We are sitting at historic highs on the S&P mid-cap, the Russell 2000 as well right now. Let's take a look at the markets in the last hour. And the great thing about the market from the bulls' point of view is that even arguments about higher interest rates have been unsuccessful in dropping the market at all. There's no traction at all from the bears here. There's been a floor under this market since July 7th. What was that? That was the London bombings. Believe it or not, that established the floor, and it was 50 points from where it was now. We were at about 1180 on the S&P 500. We're 50 points higher since that market, and it proved to everyone that there was a lot of buying interest just below the market. That's the real mover for the month of July, on top of the excellent economic news and the excellent earnings reports here. And a good example is how the home builders have turned around, and I've used them as a poster child today to show you how difficult it is to move the markets around. D.R. Horton and all the other home building stocks dropped at 10 o'clock Eastern time as the ISM numbers came out. They've made attempts to sell these stocks off for ages, and there's a good example of what happens on an intraday basis. They get them to a certain level, and the minute they start turning around, you get a volume spike because everyone starts covering. They're simply afraid to stay short these stocks for any length of time. D.R. Horton and the rest of the stocks in the home building area all to the upside today. Let's go over to Maya, standing by over at the NASDAQ.
Thank you very much, Bob. Well, those high oil prices did not keep the NASDAQ from posting gains today. It is up about 13 points at this hour. Also, we continue to watch eBay today. Citigroup Smith Barney upgraded eBay to buy from hold today. Analyst Mark Mahaney stated in a note that in the that he believes that the June quarter trends are sustainable for eBay, and also said it was good news that the company had heard that eBay had announced that it's not going to be building a PayPal competitor. You can take a look at eBay and see that it is up about 4% at this hour. Meanwhile, chip stocks are having some ups and downs today. That is despite the Semiconductor Industry Association announcement that worldwide chip sales were up 0.8% in June year over year. The association also said it expects the strongest growth in the year to come in the second half of the year. But the index...
Thank you so much. We want to check the stocks making some news this final hour of trading. Mary Thompson is in for Joe Kernan today. What's moving right now?
Well, lots moving. What we want to do right now is check some of the new highs and new lows. Some of the stocks moving today. Bill and Maria, back to you.
Thank you, Mary. Just a reminder, for more up-to-the-minute market dispatches, including analysis and commentary, log on right now to cnbc.com on MSN.
Interest rates moving higher today as well. Let's check in now with Rick Santelli.
Today, the Dow starting to move into positive territory. The NASDAQ's been strong today.
Up next, the men behind the headlines have become the headlines. The Murdoch family is in a serious battle over who will control the media empire. That's next.
I'm Jane Wells in Los Angeles. SureGuard says we don't want to be bought. Leave us alone. Even though we got a lot of debt, investors feel otherwise, sending shares to record highs. What is in store for storage? That's up next.
But first, the most active stocks at the New York Stock Exchange today, led by Motorola. At this hour, the Dow trying to struggle to move higher here. The NASDAQ's had a strong day. We have about 44 minutes left before the closing bell. The world of real estate investment trusts revolving around a $2.5 billion takeover offer today. Public Storage, that's a real estate investment trust that develops self-storage.
News of another acquisition is not a surprise, though this particular deal
Buy from a hold in a note that was entitled, "Want it now, buy it now."
9 minutes left in this trading day. The NASDAQ still up about 15 points. The Dow up just 3.
From down under to New York City, Rupert Murdoch has become Mr. Tabloid. Now his family business has become public business. The battle for Rupert's media empire. We have the who, what, and why next. In today's closing bell poll, we're asking which group of stocks will do best in August. Large caps, mid caps, small caps. What do you think? Go to our website, cnbc.com on MSN. Cast your vote and we'll bring you the results later on in the program. Meanwhile, on Wall Street today, not a bad day, despite the fact that oil prices are up $1 a barrel. We've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average reversing early losses, now showing a gain of about 5. NASDAQ has been on fire. One of the leadership groups, technology, continues to lead. NASDAQ up 16 points in 35 minutes before the closing bell sounds.
Now watch carefully. We worked very hard on these. Outfoxed. Murdoch's maneuver. Air wars. Watch out, Fleet Street. Those are just a few of the possible headlines that might have shown up in the Sun or the New York Post if someone else owned those newspapers. someone other than Rupert Murdoch.
Children of his marriage to former News Corp executive Wendy Deng. Now, while the family squabble could
Actually better on this session with technology. Once again, that leadership group. NASDAQ up 15 points. Dow Industrials flat, up about 3.
When we come back, bulls and bears battle it out over a potentially hot August.
Still ahead on the closing bell.
A little less than 30 minutes to go for this Monday so far, the first trading day in August. The Dow struggling to show a gain of about 3 points at this hour. The NASDAQ sharply higher on some good gains by eBay and other technology stocks today, and the S&P 500 index up about 3 points at this hour. There's the NASDAQ, and there's the S&P.
The company behind the low-carb Atkins.
And if you're hungry for more, Tyson Foods reported a nearly 19% decline.
We've got 23 minutes before the closing bell sounds on Wall Street. The market fractionally better on the session. Crude oil is up $1 a barrel. The Dow has been mixed all day. It is now down 2 3/4 points, but the NASDAQ holding on to a double-digit move, 13 points higher.
Yeah, here we go. August historically not giving investors what they really want. We'll see why one money manager, though, is so confident that this month will be different. Another bull-bear debate coming up.
Picture of the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with 20 minutes before the closing bell sounds for a Monday. The Dow Industrials are down about 3 points, but the NASDAQ is up 13.
Well, here we are in August.
At an all-time high. We're going to check the other averages when we come back. We've got about 15 minutes before the closing bell sounds. The Dow and the NASDAQ mixed, with the Dow down a fraction, but the NASDAQ holding on to a double-digit move.
And don't forget, we're coming back with the closing countdown in just a few minutes.
And I'm Jim Goldman, live in Los Angeles. Sex and violence and controversy, not another Hollywood blockbuster, but big business in video gaming. Forget the recent headlines. The industry's on fire. I'll take a look at just about those opportunities straight ahead.
And now online, columnist Bill Fleckenstein says lenders are putting homeowners at risk.
Before it's news, live, real time, on the money. This is CNBC.
Minutes to go here, and the Dow continues to struggle, but the NASDAQ is pretty strong today. The S&P's up, and as Maria mentioned a few minutes ago, the small caps, as represented by that Russell 2000 index, has hit an all-time high once again today. That has been the story of this market this year. The small caps higher, the blue chips have been struggling.
Bill, Take-Two's Grand Theft Auto.
Dow still struggling, but the NASDAQ, the higher, all those small cap indices doing very well again today. Don't forget, we're coming back with the closing countdown.
And then in today's closing bell poll, we're asking which group of stocks will do best in August. What do you think? Large caps, mid caps, or small caps? Go to our website, Cnbc.com. Tell us what you think. We'll bring you the results later on the closing bell.
As you can see, folks, the wind's right now.
Welcome back. A little more selling now for the Dow, down 13, 14 points at this hour. The NASDAQ holding on to pretty good gains, and that Russell 2000 has been in all-time high territory, even as the price of oil has been moving higher today, and it finished up over $1, almost at $62 per barrel. Joining us as we head toward the closing bell today, David Joy. He's the chief market strategist at RiverSource Investments, which was formerly called American Express Financial Advisors. Bob Pisani joins me from the big board, and Maya Kolicki, of course, is at the NASDAQ market.
Tell the market off, and there was a little after 10 o'clock when we got the economic news on the ISM figures. It fails, and that's been the story for the last month, Bill.
And Maya, for the NASDAQ, technology still the story there.
Yeah, technology is, of course, doing very well. You know, we actually had a very good day here, and it was driven in part by internet stocks. You saw eBay pulling things up here, Google also trading up today. We saw the NASDAQ grow by 6% in July, and my question for David is, can we expect growth in the month of August for technology? And if so, if not, what's going to be the driver?
Well, I think technology stocks certainly have some good momentum behind them, but we don't see them breaking out to the upside. We are not overweighted in technology, but we do see good, steady capital spending plans. And so I would think there's going to be some underlying support there, but not sure we're going to replicate what we saw in July in the month ahead.
What do you do with bonds at these levels, David?
Well, we've been defensive on bonds. We think the 10-year note should actually be closer to 5%, maybe even a little bit over. And so you still need to be defensive. But one exception, I would say that high-yield bonds, as long as the economy's doing well, you can pick up that extra yield and be relatively secure in doing so, because we're not seeing a deterioration in credit quality by any means.
Yeah, do you have certain sectors you like for those junk bonds right now?
Well, I think if you just look overall, energy is an area that we think is worthy of an overweight. Telecommunications selectively is another area, maybe a little bit less efficient at this point. And I would say, in addition to that, industrials is another area that we like, seeing good strength and pricing power.
Didn't see a whole lot of strength in the industrials today, Bob Pisani.
No, and look, like I said, the problem is that when you get a day like today where the markets are moving sideways, they'll go to the market leaders, and those are the energy stocks and to a lesser extent the home building stocks. However, if you look back, Bill, the month of July had tremendous support from industrial stocks, tremendous support from retail stocks, tremendous support from just about everything outside of utility stocks, which lagged a little bit, and some of the financial stocks that were a little bit of a lag. Other than that, it was a terrific month. You can't argue with the leadership right here, and particularly they were happy when technology stocks came roaring back.
Folks, thank you. David Joy of RiverSource Investments, Bob Pisani, Maya Kerlicki, stand by. You're looking at the closing bell on the New York Stock Exchange. CEO of Reynolds American celebrating the first anniversary of the merger of Reynolds Tobacco with Brown & Williamson. And at the NASDAQ, the CEO of Denny's, celebrating the listing of Denny's today in the NASDAQ stock market. We'll be talking to you again in a few minutes. Let's get to the second hour of the closing bell now with Maria Bartiromo.
From the world leader in business news, this is the Closing Bell. Live at CNBC's global headquarters, Maria Bartiromo.
And good afternoon. Crude oil closes at a record high today on Wall Street, above $62 a barrel. But that's not enough to keep investors interested in technology and the tech-dominated NASDAQ from flirting with a four-year high. Our market coverage, analysis, and the outlook just moments away. Also today on the Bell, let everyone else go to the beach this August. We will share some late summer trading strategies that could heat up your profits. General Motors cuts prices and incentives in favor of lower everyday pricing. Will the dramatic move bring buyers to the lots and to GM stock? And in a CNBC exclusive interview, Citigroup's Global Wealth Management CEO, Todd Thompson. I want to know where the world's wealthiest investors are putting their money right now. But first up, crude oil rally.